my top albums of 2023, more specifically my top 5 albums. But first we gotta run through my honorable mentions real quick, and these are in no particular order. Also remember that this is just my opinion, and it's cool to have a different ranking than me. Let me know your favorite albums down in the comments. An album that just barely missed my top 5 for 2023 is Lil Tecca's third album, Tech. Led by the fire singles 500 Pounds and Heaven on Earth produced by Benny X, at a concise 16 tracks, Tech is in my opinion Lil Tecca's best project to date. Another honorable mention of mine is Offset's 2023 release, Set It Off. I've always been a pretty big fan of Offset and always thought he was the most versatile member of the Migos. But while I also thought that his first solo album was forgettable, this one had a lot more songs I find myself going back to, especially this 3-track run right here. The Kid Leroy's debut album, The First Time, is another project that just missed my top 5. After a rough delayed rollout, I feel like this album unfortunately flew under many people's radars. He may have waited a little too long after the massive hype of Stay with Justin Bieber. I know he's also been going through some label issues, but as a Leroy fan for a minute, I thought he delivered with this album despite its low sales. Another pop album I enjoyed this year was from Olivia Rodrigo. Following her 2021 smash debut, Sour, this was honestly one of the most anticipated follow-up albums in music in a very long time. Although the rest of these albums you'll see on my list are hip-hop, and although this album's target audience is teenage girls, I definitely enjoyed Olivia Rodrigo's Guts.
Hey yo, what the
From Olivia Rodrigo to Lil Durk, Almost Healed is worthy of an honorable mention too. All My Life with J. Cole was one of the biggest songs of the year, and for good reason. While I definitely liked his album last year more, this was yet another Durk project I enjoyed. Released way back in February, Afterlife would be Yeat's only project of 2023, which was different from his previous release strategy. Filled with typical Yeat bangers as well as tracks you wouldn't exactly expect from him, such as None I'd Change. Also, seeing him play this album live in April took it to the next level for me. Then combined with his first #1 hit a few months later thanks to Drake, the Yeat hype is arguably bigger than ever. So now time for my top 5 albums of 2023. Obviously, there was a lot of talk about Gunna this year and his involvement with the whole Young Thug and YSL case. However, Gunna made a statement himself with this album back when it dropped in June. At a total of 15 tracks and not one single feature, Gunna proved that when your back's against the wall, you fight the hardest. Including the most streamed rap song of the year, F You Mean, along with my favorite off the project, Back to the Moon. While Gunna's put out some fire albums in the past, I think I'd say this is his best work so far. Another artist fans have certainly talked about in the past year, and not particularly for good reason, so Fago came through with a really solid project in June, which I had on repeat most this summer. Featuring a few fan favorite snippets and leaks, looking here at my top 5 most played songs of the year, both We Good and Backseat are in the top 5. So Fago is super talented, and I'm excited to hear what he has next. As Uzi's first studio album in over 3 years, Pink Tape was very anticipated by fans, coming in at a total of 28 tracks including the bonus ones, one of those being Of Course, which I covered in this video, one of my favorite stories of last year. Uzi definitely made up for the time he took off. Although I can appreciate an artist trying to experiment and try new sounds, I will also admit there's a few songs on here I skip every single time. Another complaint about this album too is that it seemed like Uzi moved on from it extremely fast. Like, I don't even think he dropped one music video, and it felt like he barely even promoted it. He just moved on to whatever that Barter 6 shit was like right away. Regardless though, Lil Uzi Vert is one of my favorite artists, and was actually my top played artist of last year, with Pink Tape being a big reason why. An album that I definitely would not have expected to end up in my top 5 prior to hearing it, V's honestly snapped with Ganger. Filled with so many clever, fire, braggadocious one-liners, this project truly embodies that Detroit sound as V's flows effortlessly over all 21 tracks. It starts off incredibly strong with one of my favorite rap songs of the year, Not a Drill. My one complaint though with this album is that it can kinda seem to run on at points when there's no features. I think features like Uzi on the Get Off My Dick remix definitely helps add just a little bit more to the track. But again, this is one of my favorite projects I've heard in a while. Now for my #1 album of 2023 is Travis Scott's Utopia. Travis Scott has been one of my favorite artists for a while now, and after a 5-year hiatus following Astroworld, clearly I was satisfied with Utopia. Heavily inspired by his mentor Kanye West, although this album did lack that one clear massive hit, this was still the best-selling hip-hop album of the year. At a total of 19 tracks, Utopia hears Travis tap back into that darker rodeo sound a little more.
And I'm willing to say it. It's probably the greatest track Travis Scott has ever made.
Well, I don't think I'd go quite as far as Sean C in saying that. My Eyes is probably my favorite track off the album though. While it's not my #1 Travis Scott album, Utopia is my #1 album of 2023. Thank you guys for a great year over on the main channel, and I'm really excited for 2024.